of FPPad.com. Day one of the Laser App Financial Services Conference has come to a close. It finished with a fantastic keynote session from Gabe Zickermann. He is a gamification expert. So I met up with Gabe after his session to hear how he thinks gamification can be applied to the financial services industry. Gabe, I attended your session. It was fantastic.
Thank you.
So when we think about financial services, what do you think is the key takeaway to apply gamification in the financial services industry?
Well, as a broad rule, financial services are really well adapted to gamification because there's usually great ways of keeping score, like money and growth and stuff like that. So people are comfortable with numbers, which makes it easy to do gamification in that context. But also the numbers and the relationships and the software that's required, they can be pretty heavy, and there's a lot of like kind of crunching, grinding that people have to do, a lot of waiting for things to happen. So all of those are opportunities for people to lose focus and lose their attention on the stuff which is actually important to them. So gamification can help kind of get people over that hump, get them to do things that, you know, while they're bored or while they otherwise would look away from what they should be looking at, get them to stay focused and do what they need to do.
You also talked about some risks of gamification, like if you have a bad process in your business and you try to gamify it, you just end up with a really bad game. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. A lot of the work that I do at Dopamine, which is the name of my strategic consultancy, we get called in by people saying, hey, folks aren't using our software. They're not doing what they should do. Our employees aren't as engaged with the process as we need them to be, or our customers are not as engaged with us. And we often start out, and this really came as a surprise to me, we really start out with this approach of saying, well, what's good about this process and what's not good about this process? And if you take a badly functioning, broken piece of software or workflow and just turn it into a game, I promise you it's just going to be a crappy game. So what we need to do is we always start by saying, okay, how can we optimize this? How can we make the core process more fun? And how can we make it sustainable so it's actually something that people want to do? That doesn't mean that everything that we want folks to do, like advisors to do, or new software we want them to use, has to fit in the mold of what's existing. Because we can use gamification to change people's behavior and get them to do stuff that they didn't think they would do before. We just need to make sure that that's as good as it can be and that's as engaging as possible. And I think it starts with one simple idea. Whenever we're trying to get somebody to use new software or new process, we need to think of them as a consumer who has the choice to stay with us or not, to do this or not, and build the system around that idea of free will and free choice. And if we put it that way and we say, look, instead of doing this financial software, you could be playing Candy Crush. Instead of doing this, you could be watching some dumb TV show. That makes it easier for us to start saying, look, the bar we need to hit is this. It needs to be fun. It needs to have feedback in it. Your friends have got to be there. All those things together will create something that people actually want to do.
I think you really captivated the audience here at the Laser App Financial Services Conference. But for those who might be watching or weren't able to attend, where can they learn more about Dopamine and some of the research that you provide and offer on gamification?
So gamification is a relatively new concept, and you can go to gamification.co, which is an editorial website that I run, and it's got videos and articles and resources and guides, and you can find out more about it. You can take a course, you can read a book. There's so many resources you can get into there.
That's great, Gabe. Thank you so much for sharing that with me today.
Thank you.